You're sitting there staring at your banking app again. Checking, savings, credit card, back to checking. You do that mental math you've done 100 times already. Okay, I've got like $1,800 in savings, but I owe $600 on the card. Rent is coming up, my car registration is due next month, and you kind of sigh because in your head you're thinking, how do people have $25,000 just sitting there? I can't even hold on to $2,000 without something blowing up. Maybe you've had that moment where you hit a record high in your savings, like $3,000 or $4,000, and you're proud for about 5 minutes. And then your tire blows out, or there's a surprise bill, or a friend texts you, hey, we're doing a trip this summer, you in? And suddenly that record high number is sliding right back down again. It almost feels like your money is on a treadmill. You're definitely moving. You can feel the effort, but your actual progress, it just doesn't look like what you thought it would. And honestly, that's the part that messes with you. You see videos about people hitting 100K, 200K, 500K, and you're like, dude, I'm over here fighting for my first $5,000. How is this even the same game? So my name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about this exact thing. Not just the math of money, but why it feels so insanely hard to get that first real chunk saved. And then somehow the people who get to 100K will tell you, weirdly, that part felt easier than getting to 25K. On paper, that sounds completely backwards. Like, how could $25,000 be harder than $100,000? That makes no sense, right? But here's the thing. Once you understand what's actually going on, the math, the psychology, the life circumstances, the little traps that make the first 25K feel like climbing a mountain with a backpack full of rocks, it suddenly stops feeling like a moral failing. It stops being, I'm bad with money, and starts being, oh, the game is just rigged differently at the beginning. By the time we're done talking, my goal is that you walk away with two things. One, a completely different way of looking at that first $25,000, so you stop beating yourself up for not being there yet. Two, a very real sense of, okay, this is hard, but it's supposed to be hard, and here's how I can actually push through this phase. Because if you're in your 20s or 30s, or even later and starting over, and you feel like you're stuck at 1K, 3K, 7K, up and down, you're not broken. You're just in the worst part of the journey. So let's unpack why this specific milestone, $25,000, feels like dragging a boulder uphill, and why, weirdly, once you get through it, the road to 100K can actually feel lighter than what you're dealing with right now. We like to talk about saving money as if everybody starts from zero, but most people don't start from zero. They start from below zero. Think about it. When you decide, okay, I'm going to get serious about money, what's already there? Maybe you've got credit card debt from a time when you were just trying to survive, or honestly, just swiping without thinking. Maybe you've got student loans hanging over you. Maybe you're a couple of months behind on something and just trying to catch up. Maybe you don't have any formal debt, but you've got a car that's about to die, or medical bills looming, or a family that sometimes needs help. So when you set this goal like, I want $25,000 in savings, that's not just go from 0 to 25,000. It's climb from, let's say, negative 10,000 to 0, then 0 to 25,000. You're doing two jobs at once, digging yourself out of a hole and trying to build something above ground. I remember looking at my numbers at one point and realizing, okay, I have like $3,000 in a savings account, but I also owe almost that much on a credit card and a personal loan combined. So my net worth, which is what actually matters, was basically zero. But emotionally, it felt like I was failing because that $3,000 had taken forever to build. This is why it feels like every step forward gets wiped out. You're not just stepping forward, you're filling in a crater. It's like trying to run on the beach, you know? When you're on the hard sand near the water, you can move pretty easily. But the soft sand, every step sinks. You push off and half of your energy just disappears into the ground. That's the first 25K. You're running in soft sand. And understanding that actually matters because you stop comparing your progress to people who started on solid ground. Maybe they had help, no debt, or higher starting incomes. You start tracking your net worth, not just your savings account balance. So right now, if you're like, Nick, I barely have $2,000 saved and I still owe $8,000 on various debts, here's your first practical shift. Start treating paying down debt as part of hitting that $25,000. If you go from negative $10,000 to negative $2,000, that's the same net worth improvement as going from 0 to $8,000 in savings. Most people never see it that way. They're like, I only have $1,000 in savings. But if your total situation moved from negative 15 to negative 5, that's huge. That progress counts. And if you actually track that with a simple spreadsheet, a notes app, or a net worth tracker, you'll start to see, oh, I am moving. The sand just sucks right now.
Let's talk about compounding and growth, but in a very non-boring way. People online love to say things like, if you just invest $500 a month at 7% for 40 years, you'll be a millionaire. And that's technically true. But if you've ever tried to save $500 a month and then checked your accounts after 6 months and it's like $3,050, you're probably thinking, that's it? Where's my millionaire status? Where's this compounding everyone keeps talking about? Here's what's actually happening in the first $25,000. Almost all of the growth is coming from you putting money in. The returns from investing are so small at the beginning that they're basically invisible. Let's put real numbers on it. Say you managed to get to $5,000 invested. You're feeling good. That's a big deal. If that $5,000 earns a 7% return over a year, that's $350. Now, $350 is not nothing, but stretched over a year, it's like $30 a month. You're not going to feel that. You'll be like, wait, I skipped dinners out and canceled Netflix for this? Now imagine you've got $25,000 invested. 7% on that is $1,750 a year. Again, not life-changing, but you start to notice, my account went up by almost $2,000 and I didn't do anything. Now imagine $100,000 invested. 7% is $7,000 a year. That's like someone depositing almost $600 a month into your account without you doing anything. At that point, you really start to feel it. You log in and you're like, wait, this went up $700 this month? I didn't add that much. My money is finally doing something. That's why people say getting from 0 to 25,000 feels harder than getting from 25,000 to 100,000. Because in the beginning, it's you versus the number. Later, it becomes you plus your money versus the number. You're no longer fighting alone. So what does this mean for you right now? It means if you're early in the journey and disappointed that your account isn't growing, you're comparing yourself to a phase you're not in yet. You're expecting compound interest to be this magical rocket booster, when right now it's more like a little extra push on the back of your bike. So your job in the first $25,000 is not to obsess over getting 7% versus 8% versus 9%. Your job is simply get money in the account consistently. Learn the habit of saving and investing, not chasing returns. Actionable takeaway here? Pick a simple, boring investment strategy, an index fund, a target date fund, whatever fits your situation and risk tolerance. Automate a fixed amount every paycheck, even if it's $50, $100, $200, and judge your success for now by how much you contributed, not how much the account bounced around. Compounding is not your hero yet. Right now, you are the hero, building the machine that will pay you back later. There's a weird thing that happens with money that almost no one talks about. Before you hit that first real chunk, that 10K, 25K range, every good money decision feels like it's going against who you are, like you're forcing yourself to be this responsible adult version of you that you don't fully recognize yet. Think about it. If you've spent most of your life as the person who says yes to last-minute dinners, buys little Amazon things just because, upgrades their phone every time there's a deal, doesn't really check their account until it feels urgent, then every time you say, no, I'm going to put this extra $100 into savings instead, it's like you're breaking character. It's exhausting. You might not even realize how much willpower you're burning just by trying to be good with money when that hasn't been part of your identity. I remember the phase where I started saying, no, I'm staying in way more often. Friends would be like, come on, it's just 40 bucks. And in my head, I'd be doing the math like, yeah, 40 bucks times 8 weekends a month times, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but still, it felt awkward. I felt cheap sometimes. I felt like I was pretending to be this super disciplined, financially savvy person, but inside, I still felt like the old me. That's a big part of why the first $25,000 hurts. You're not just changing what you do with your money, you're changing who you are in your own head. Later, once you've hit that milestone, saying no to things isn't this huge emotional battle. It's just what you do. Putting money into savings isn't an act of willpower, it's just part of your routine. You're no longer trying on a new identity, you're just living it. So the stakes feel lower, the effort feels lighter. If you're in that early identity crisis phase, here's what helps. 1. Automate as much as humanly possible. Don't rely on, I'll save whatever's left at the end of the month. Have a fixed amount move out of your checking the day after paycheck, like a bill to your future self. 2. Stop calling yourself bad with money, even as a joke. Your brain hears that. Start saying, I'm learning to be good with money, or I'm someone who's building wealth slowly. 3. Give yourself a small guilt-free fund. If every dollar is either serious savings or you're a failure, you'll burn out. Have a little fun money line item so you're not constantly feeling deprived. Changing your financial identity is like breaking in a new pair of shoes. At first, it just feels weird. You're hyper-aware of every step. But give it enough time and repetition, and one day you realize you're just walking, and the shoes feel like they were made for you. Another reason $25,000 feels ridiculously hard is life is just kind of chaotic in the years when you're supposed to be getting it together. Think about what's packed into your 20s and early 30s. Low starting salaries, unstable jobs or career changes, moving cities, sometimes multiple times, relationships starting and ending, weddings to attend, trips, bachelor or bachelorette stuff, maybe kids or thinking about kids, trying to have, an actual life. You're not just trying to save money, you're trying to build the life at the exact same time. And here's the crazy part. We compare ourselves to people who are 10 to 20 years ahead, but we forget all the chaos they've already survived. By the time someone has $100,000 saved, they've often already gone through the expensive browser tabs of life, moving out, furnishing a place, the stupid car decision phase, the random debt cleanup. They're usually making more money than they were at 22. Their life is a little more settled, not perfectly, but more. Same person, different season. There's also this social pressure thing no one really warns you about. You're in this weird tug of war between I should be building for my future and these are my only 20s, I want to enjoy them. And both of those voices are right. So every time you choose one side, the other side tells you you're wrong. That mental noise makes saving feel heavier than it technically is. So how do you navigate this without becoming a hermit or a joyless spreadsheet robot? Here are a couple of practical ideas. 1. Pick your season. Decide what your next 12 to 18 months are mainly about. Is this a season of aggressively building savings, paying down a specific debt, or stabilizing your career or income? You can't do everything at level 10 at once. If you know this is your foundation season, saying no to a third trip this year feels a little easier. 2. Set a fun floor and a savings floor. For example, you always save at least $300 a month, non-negotiable. You always keep at least $150 for fun, also non-negotiable. That way, it's not this constant emotional negotiation. It's just how your money is split. 3. Stop assuming everyone else is doing better. A lot of the people who look like they're enjoying life more are just paying a lot for it, quietly, with debt and stress. You're not behind because you don't have $25,000 yet in the middle of all this chaos. You're in the exact messy middle where it's supposed to feel hard.
Let's talk about something a bit uncomfortable. The quiet money leaks. Because sometimes it's not that you can't get to $25,000. It's that you're unknowingly pouring a few hundred or $1,000 a month into things that don't matter that much to you. Not evil purchases, not you're so dumb purchases, just default decisions. Things like, A car payment that's way bigger than it needs to be. Subscriptions you barely remember starting. Eating out not because you love food, but because you're tired and didn't plan. Convenience fees, overdraft charges, random oops expenses. I still remember sitting in a dealership once, and the salesperson was like, "So for just $80 more a month, you can get the upgraded package." And in that moment, just $80 more felt like nothing. But $80 a month over 5 years is almost $5,000. And if you instead put $80 a month into an investment account for those same 5 years at 7%, that's like $5,600. So that one, yeah, sure, upgrade me decision is like a $10,000 swing over time when you combine extra cost with lost growth. And that's just one decision. Stack that with a bunch of others, and suddenly the path to $25,000 is full of potholes. Here's why this matters, for how it feels. When your money is quietly leaking away, you start to think, "I'm trying so hard and nothing's changing." But what's really happening is you're saving with one hand and accidentally draining with the other. So what can you actually do about that without becoming a minimalist monk? Set aside one evening, literally just one, and do a money leak audit. Pull up your last 2 to 3 months of bank and card statements, go line by line, and ask one question. If I had this exact money in cash in my hand right now, would I still spend it on this? You're not judging past you. You're just asking, future me, is this still worth it? You'll probably find subscriptions you don't use, cancel. I was just lazy, food orders, maybe cut those in half. Little recurring charges that don't actually make your life better. If you can free up even $150 to $300 a month, that alone can be the difference between feeling stuck at $2,000 to $3,000 forever and actually watching your savings climb. At $250 a month, in just 1 year, you've got $3,000. In 5 years, without any returns, that's $15,000. Add investment growth, and now we're talking real progress. You don't need to become perfect with money. You just need to stop letting the quiet leaks keep you anchored below that $25,000 milestone. If you've tried to save before, you probably know this pattern. You get serious, you cut back, you build up some savings, then life happens. Engine light comes on, dental emergency, your friend needs help, your hours get cut at work, and suddenly that beautiful $2,500 or $4,000 balance you were so proud of is getting sliced down. It feels like a betrayal. Like, what's the point of even trying? Every time I get ahead, something knocks me back. So you do what a lot of people do. You stop saving for a while. You kind of emotionally disconnect from your money. You tell yourself, "I'll restart later when things calm down." But here's the twist. That emotional roller coaster is part of why that first $25,000 is so hard. The numbers go up slowly and down quickly. Your brain starts to associate trying with disappointment. Later, when you have more cushion, those same events still happen. They just hurt less. If you have $2,000 saved and a $1,000 emergency hits, that's 50% of your safety net. If you have $25,000 saved and that same $1,000 thing happens, that's 4%. Annoying, but not devastating. That percentage difference is what makes the early game so brutal. You're operating without a shield. So if you've been through that cycle a few times, I want you to hear this clearly. Needing to use your savings is not failure. It means the system worked. The money was there when you needed it. The shift that helps a lot here is separating your money into 2 buckets. One is emergency or buffer money. This is allowed to go up and down. Its job is to protect you from life happening. You do not beat yourself up when you use it. 2 is long-term or wealth money. This is for future you, investments, long-term savings. You want this to be much harder to touch. You judge your progress by what happens here. If all your money lives in one generic savings account, every dip feels like starting over. But if you're like, okay, my emergency fund took a hit, that's annoying, but fine, and separately, my long-term investments are still growing untouched, then suddenly every setback doesn't feel like your entire life just went backwards. Actionable step. Open a second account if you don't have one already. One is, oh crap, life happened money. The other is, don't touch this unless it's life-changing money. Even if you're only putting $50 to $100 a month into that long-term bucket at first, you're building something that doesn't get destroyed every time you have a bad month. That's how you protect your motivation long enough to actually reach that $25,000 and beyond. Let's fast forward for a second. Imagine you've been grinding away and you finally cross that line. You log into your accounts and it says something like $25,327.41. What's different? On the surface, not much. You still wake up as you still go to work, you still have bills. But under the surface, a few big things have shifted. One, you have proof that you can do this. Before, saving a lot was just a theory.